It's 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call our meeting order this Monday, July the 16th, 10 a.m., as promptly as possible. Welcome, everybody, for being here. There are some agendas on the center table back there if anybody would like a copy, and would invite you all to remove any caps, stand with us, and let's start our meeting with a pledge followed by invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. God, we just thank you for another day, another opportunity to serve in this capacity. We thank you for entrusting us to serve in this capacity, and just pray that you would watch over us, lead, guide, and direct us, and help us to make diligent choices that would respect each and every citizen of this county. We thank you for this county that you've allowed us to live in, and just pray that you would help us all to come together to make it a better place to live, and that we may all prosper. Lord, I just pray that you would be with those that are sick and those that are going through treatments, as we know many in the county. We just pray that you would wrap your loving arms around them. Thank you for all you do. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. All right, we do have, actually there's a third slight modification on the agenda. I made you aware of two. The first is got to appoint an interim clerk. The next is, in our packet, there was, at the back of it, there was a packet from Karen at the finance office. Uniform guidance was labeled, and we're just going to pull that into her presentation under item D. I believe it was in the back of my packet anyway. We'll add that there, and then the third modification will be the add number 8, an E911 budget resolution, and Mike will share what that's about when we get down there if anybody has questions. So with those three modifications, if there are no others, I would entertain a motion to approve the modified agenda.
So moved. A second.
Move in a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you all. Next, we have several sets of minutes from our budget and regular meetings in the packet. We would entertain a motion or questions at this time if concerning those.
I'd make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Move in a second to approve the minutes of the agenda packets. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 5-0. And would like to thank our former clerk, who is not here, for putting all of that together, and there's a lot of work there, so appreciate what she has done for us, and I wish her well. We will be starting interviews, I think, soon for a new clerk. Maybe I think that starts next week, so look forward to all of those. Next item will be that we will need to select an interim clerk in the meantime, and our county manager has agreed to take on that role to fill in the gap until we can get that filled permanently. So with that, I guess we probably need a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve or to select Mike as interim clerk.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
You didn't want it, did you?
No,
5-0.
no.
Okay, we'll move to item A and then maybe bypass it. I think we have a resolution that for Mr. Kemp Irwin, who has served the county in lots of different ways, but I think he was going to be unable to make it on time. Maybe he's going to be coming by, though?
He's going to be here, yeah, in about an hour or so.
Okay, so we will just forego that at this time and revisit it if he comes back. If not, we'll revisit it and go ahead and get the resolution passed. Next is our item B, is Spotlight Business, and we have, I think, Mr. Larry Myers with us from the Solid Rock Food Closet. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Larry Myers, and I represent Solid Rock Food Closet. And I am honored to be before this distinguished body this morning to share a little bit about the closet and what we do. I'd like to begin historically and chronologically that we began as an idea out of a closet at the Baptist Church here in town in 1984. And we have a letter from the manager at Second Harvest Food Bank, Mr. James Caldwell, that acknowledges as being a part and a practicing member of that agency and partner agency since 1984, and we remain in good standing to this day. 2004, the Food Closet moved down to Macedonia Church Road. They're adjacent to and slightly behind Four Brothers. Operated out of there for a couple of years. I was pleased to have the opportunity to volunteer there on a couple of occasions. In 2007, we moved to Womble Street, our current address. In 2012, we added on a large portion to the existing building that houses mostly our backpack program and storage for extra food items. In 2017, we were blessed to be acknowledged by Miss Georgia Cox and her estate to provide us some funding to do with as we saw fit. And if you know Georgia Cox, you know that she was in love, enamored with the Food Closet. And if you look up the Food Closet in the dictionary, you would always find her picture. A delightful lady, totally devoted to the Food Closet. And we were honored to make another addition to the building and name it after Miss Cox. And it is known today as the Georgia Cox Addition. Currently, our staffing, we have 4 part-time employees, of which I am one. Volunteers provide the vast majority of our support. We generally look to have 5 to 6 volunteers per day to help us do the work. We have churches in the community and the county supporting us. Right now, approximately 16. They support us financially, faithfully, each month. And they also provide staffing to us each month that we might run the facility. By way of numbers, and I don't want to be a numbers cruncher, but these numbers will demonstrate the significance of the Food Closet and the impact that we have. For 2017, we served 4,111 individuals. We served 10,465 total family members. We served 188,370 meals to Alleghany County. May of 2018, we served 354 heads of households, representing 863 family members, for a total number of meals for May of 2018 of 15,834 in Alleghany County. The food that we provide for each and every family will sustain them for 3 meals a day for each member of the family for 6 days. Bear in mind, though, we are supplemental in nature. We are not the fundamental or primary source of food. Our resources, we rely heavily on Second Harvest Food Bank out of Winston-Salem. We are in partnership agreement with them. They provide us the opportunity to order food each week and they deliver that food on the following Wednesday of each week. Depending on what is available to us, the time of the month, the time of the year, we would receive anywhere from 1,500 pounds of food per week up to approximately 6,000 pounds of food. And that will vary week to week and month to month. We also rely heavily on local food drives provided by organizations and agencies and individuals here in the county. Our most recent was by our post office. They, for one weekend in May, generated 7,000 pounds of food. That was done by residents faithful to the purpose of the Food Closet, putting their canned items, non-perishables, in, on, around, or under their mailboxes, and the carriers would pick it up and bring it to the post office. By the time this thing was about halfway over, I had a bunch of carriers that didn't like me very much. But they were very happy at the end. At the end result being 7,000 pounds of food, and we were ever so grateful to the post office and have acknowledged them appropriately via the local media. We rely also on private donations, be they from corporations, companies, civic groups, and/or individuals. Financially, we seek grants, contributions of any kind. It is important to note that we receive no money from either local, state, or federal. We are a 501c3, and we rely on the generosity, if you will, of the community and the civic organizations, the corporations that fund us and support us. We are busy during the course of any calendar year applying for grants. That is a good source of income for our backpack program, and I currently have one from Blue Ridge Energy that I will speak to in just a few moments. And for the backpack program, that is the meals that we provide the kids during the school year. It is provided to us, or we purchase it from Second Harvest. We repackage it for the individual children. It is delivered to the schools and is discreetly administered from the school resource folks to the child individually. In May of 2018, for the month, we supplied 688 backpacks to the children at Glade, Piney, and Sparta. 688. The interesting part of this to note from the human interest standpoint is that several of these children, the first thing they will do when they get off the school bus is run and hide it, because older siblings and/or parents will take it from them. Some will even eat it on the school bus on the way home as best they can. The situation can be, unfortunately, that dire and that extreme in certain circumstances. Our summer feeding program began last month in June, and we're doing approximately 300 backpacks per month to the kids that can walk in to the food closet. They can come once a week. They will receive backpack food. It's kid-friendly and it's nutritious. They have the opportunity to select of their own choice and volition additional and extra items. We have a sorority here, the Delta Kappa Gamma sorority, that is supplying the kids with books appropriate for the grade level and/or the age, and the kids take the book home to read, and the book belongs to the child. And that's been hugely successful. We also recently have, by courtesy of generosity of the citizens of the county, we now have flip-flops that the children can select flip-flops to take with them. And the expressions on the faces, folks, words can't describe the joy. I would like to talk about one special event that we have during the course of a calendar year, and that is our Empty Bowls event. This past April, we held our 9th annual Empty Bowls, which is a fundraiser for the backpack program for Alleghany County. And we had approximately 8 to 10 folks who put it together, did the actual manual labor. We had several and many volunteers. We sold approximately 300 tickets. And at the end of the day, the Empty Bowls event actually lasted from about 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock. And when it was all said and done, we had raised $21,000 for backpack. And we've done that now for 9 years, and we're beginning initial work on our 10th to be held next spring. Our latest endeavor, and this will take me to the Blue Ridge Energy Grant that I mentioned earlier, in an effort to reach out to our clientele and provide them with the healthiest food that we possibly can, and I'm speaking produce primarily here, we are investigating and are actively working with Sparta Farmers Market and the Independence Farmers Market in Independence, Virginia. We're looking for a way to establish a mechanism where we can get a reliable sustainable supply of fresh produce for as long as we can during the course of a calendar year. It is working well so far at Independence. It's in the beginning stages here with Sparta. Now, we get produce from our local supermarkets, and it is edible. It's not always the prettiest, but it is edible, it is nutritious, but we want to enhance that, expand it, and hopefully improve the food choices and the health of our clientele. A sidestep to that is a food tasting that we do each month at the Food Closet. And we take food closet items that we have in our pantry and prepare them on the spot, on location, and make it available to the clientele to demonstrate to them the things that you can do with the food that we get. And it is amazing the response that we're receiving from the clientele who have had food items placed before them that have said, oh, no, I don't eat that. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with it. We show them how to put it together. We give the ingredients to take home with it. And once they've tried it, they have fallen in love with it. And it's hugely successful at the Closet. There are 3 ladies that are doing that. That's Beth Lyons Smith, Linnea Miller, and Carmen Long. And hats off to those ladies for the dedicated work and to demonstrate to our clientele what you can do, for instance, with a can of tuna. And it is amazing, and they love it. For our holiday endeavors, in conjunction with Second Harvest, we get what we call a holiday meal pack. And it is a box about this size, and it comes with non-perishable food items. We support that with the regular allotment of food they get here this month to give them extra meals for not only Thanksgiving, but Christmas as well. With the help of Old Bow and the wonderful citizens there, they do a fundraiser to supply us with what we call holiday hens. They're actually chickens, but they're so big they look like small turkeys. And our folks love these holiday hens. And we're ever so thankful to the folks at Old Bow for their financial support to allow us to get these holiday hens from Tyson Foods in Wilkesboro. And that is, in a nutshell, is what the Food Closet does, the events that we hold and the support that we receive from various organizations, corporations, civic groups, and the wonderful, generous folks of Alleghany County. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. The number's 188,370 meals. That's a mind-boggling number. Just 15,834 for the month of May. Thank you for your leadership and all those, your staff and all the volunteers that are making our county a little bit better for some folks who definitely need this.
Important point he made was the fact that we do it without any kind of support from the county or state. And that's what hurts in some of these budget requests we've had for people that, for 12 years we raised our own money. And everybody else should be able to do the same thing. So and when you're feeding about 10% of the county's population, that's pretty significant.
Thank you.
I would be remiss not to acknowledge the volunteers.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item C, public agenda comments. If there's anyone here who would like to address this board regarding any of the agenda items, now would be the time to come and do that. Seeing no movement, we will move to item D, presentations. We have first on the list, Ms. Karen from the Finance, a couple of items. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
The first item that I have before you all today is a Toshiba Agreement. This is for our copiers and printers that we have. Every office has a copier and several departments have their printers as well. Our agreement is, I'm in contract with them for around 7 years now, And they provide all of the machines, all of the labor, service, toner, everything that we need for the machines. The only thing the county has to pay is obviously for the paper, and then also a per price, per sheet page. And I have been working with Toshiba on this, excuse me, and we've got it at the same price as the original contract was 7 years ago. And I was extremely pleased with that because things have increased over the years. The only difference, the main difference between this one and the previous one we did 7 years ago is this one is going to cost the same if it's on a printer or if it's on running it through the copier. So either way, that way it's going to simplify the billing side of things. They are on state contract is one of the reasons why you're not seeing multiple bids on this, because they did get, the state went out to bid and they got the contract. So I'm here today to ask for approval for this 5-year agreement. As you can see there, it's a little over 2 cents a copy for the black and white, and just a little over 6 cents a copy for the color. Does anybody have any questions on the Toshiba agreement?
And what percent of copies are color copies?
Very few.
Very few. Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
Matter of fact, not every department has a color copier. We probably, out of all of the departments, we probably only have maybe 6 throughout. So like, the finance office, for an example, we do have a color copier, and ours is used when April, our human resource officer, is making copies of people's ID, because that needs to be in color for our I-9s. And so she uses it for that reason.
Notice there's no color in this stack of, our agenda stack here, so.
Saving money.
Any other questions? If not, we'd entertain a motion on that.
Make a motion, we approve.
Moving a second to approve the Toshiba contract. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 5-0.
Thank you all for that. The next thing I have to bring before you today is back in around the 1st of May, Lisa Osborne and myself brought the uniform guidance policy before you all. And we talked about it extensively at that time and got it approved. Well, lo and behold, at the end of June, the Office of Management and Budget issued a memorandum changing the dollar thresholds in the policy. And I had included copies in everybody's packets. I went through and highlighted in yellow where the changes are. They changed the thresholds from $3,500 to $10,000 on micro purchases, and then $150,000 to $250,000. So you'll see throughout the document, anywhere it's highlighted is where we had referenced those numbers. And it's the School of Government's recommendation for entities that have the policy adopted to go ahead and update the policy to match what has been the recommendations at the end of June.
Essentially, that's the only two changes are the dollar amounts.
Correct.
I'm sorry, John.
I was just going to say, all we're doing is just coming into compliance with the change.
They changed the dollar amount, so we're following through, making sure our policy still matches their
Motion
recommendations.
to approve.
We do have a motion to approve on the floor,
I'd second that
a
motion.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Kenneth Vaught from the Veteran Service Officer to give us a report. Welcome, Kenneth. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
The county manager asked that I come this morning and give you an update on the Veteran Service Office activities. Provided in your meeting packets are copies of the Veteran Service Office June Daily Activity Report, the FY17 Geographic Distribution of VA Expenditures by State and County. If you look at the June Activity Report, I assisted 85 veterans and or their dependents on a daily basis. I'm aware of 2 veterans receiving increases in disability ratings, and a third veteran that received 100% permanent and total disability rating. At this time, I have 11 veterans with active claims awaiting rating decisions. In December, I reported to you the FY 2015 economic impact that our military and veterans bring to our county and state. If you refer to the FY 17 expenditure sheets provided in your package, you'll see that our veteran population decreased 847. That's down 63 from the previous report. And although our veteran population dropped, our veteran benefits went up. The total VA benefits coming to county veterans is $6,972,000. That's an increase of $1,551,000, or 28.6% since FY15. Total comp and pension cash benefits received in the county increased $787,000 for a total cash award of $4,206,000 going to our veterans and their dependents. I don't have new numbers from the Department of Defense on retired veteran pay, but previous reports showed Alleghany retired veterans receiving approximately $2.1 million. All told, our resident veterans are receiving a little over $9 million in federal benefits. Anyone have any questions about the new fiscal year report?
The 4.2 million you said was up almost 800,000, right? So it's like 3.4 million the year before?
Yes, in fact, I
So
have
that's
an
like,
old
that's
report.
almost a 25% increase in the cash payouts. That's phenomenal.
Yes, it was 3.19 million.
Yeah, doing some quick math in my head, that's about a 25% increase. So some of that's cost of living, but a lot of that is we've helped a lot of folks get compensation. You were seeing folks that were getting $80 a month, and now they're getting $1,600 a month. There's, several cases like that, so.
The permanent and total, the veteran that received permanent and total this past month, of course, his spouse is receiving aid and attendance, and that's over $3,300 a month. And of course, they were living from month to month on Social Security, so it's huge for them. The other item I wanted to touch on today, give you an update on Veterans Park Sidewalk Fundraiser. As of last Wednesday, the Veterans Committee had sold 540 bricks, and of course, our goal was 500. This past Saturday, the 14th, was the cutoff date for Phase 1 of the project. And I also want to make sure that folks understand we're continuing with brick sales, but they will not show up in the Phase 1 construction that's going to take place in a couple of months. So do want to emphasize that. Folks can still buy bricks. We have not tallied the Friday and Saturday sales, but estimates are that we'll have close to 600 brick sales. The committee will meet on the 19th to review and proof the order before sending it to the engravers. The committee will meet again on the 23rd to review bids and decide on a contractor. The project, like I said, we've more than met our goal, 500. So the project is on schedule, and we have the funds to build out Phase 1, and actually, hopefully, some additional funds to start with Phase 2. So we'll be ahead of the game there. And I'd like to thank everyone on the committee that sold bricks and everyone in the community that has bought bricks to honor a veteran. So, any questions about the bricks?
Just a couple. You're talking about Phase 1 and Phase 2. So the project is going to be, it's Phase 1 is going to start out with like a patio area to the right-hand side of the memorial that's there. And then from there, it's going to have a walkway around the parking area up to the walkway or the trail that starts out into the park.
Yes, sir.
Any idea how far Phase 1 will progress along that? Has that been determined yet?
Well, Phase 1 is, of course, to build the 10-by-10 patio and a 123-foot sidewalk, okay, with the, with these bricks. And that will lead up to the entrance walk that goes into the park. The second phase of the project was to build an identical patio, a 10-by-10 patio on the left side. And there's discussion about whether or not there would actually be a sidewalk. That has not been determined. Also, the committee has discussed actually building the second patio with funds available. And so right now, we have funds available to do that. So we're going to be looking at our contractors' bids, and next week, and the committee will take action, hopefully, to determine a contractor.
Phase one, we'll complete everything on the right-hand side.
Everything on the
Very
right-hand
good.
side, yes, sir.
Very good. Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
I do have a comment. I'd like to thank you for what you do. This is an ever-increasing workload that is being placed upon you. As the generation ages that majority of the veterans participated in, to wit, the Vietnam conflict, I know that you are, since you've done now 3 claims of mine, the effects of Agent Orange are becoming more apparent to our population. Added into that is the Camp Lejeune water, which only affects Marines and their families, 955,000 Marines, and we do not know how many family members were exposed to carcinogens in the drinking water at Camp Lejeune, and it is now coming to the fore. I suffer from it. Friends have died, and the service that you provide to widows and the veterans themselves, because it is a morass whenever you get out there. The VA is not going to bend over backwards to help the veterans, so you are our advocate. Thank you for what you've done
Thank you.
and will do.
We want to encourage every veteran in the county to schedule an appointment with Kenneth, review your benefits. Doesn't matter how long you were in the service, doesn't matter, whether you were a lifer, whether you did your 2 years and got out, doesn't matter. You may have had some incident 35, 50 years ago that's causing some physical ailment now, and you can be compensated for that. And and Kenneth can help you with that, so.
A couple things. On the list for veterans for Alleghany population, this says 847.
Yes, sir.
Where does that number come from?
That comes basically, the numbers that are put together through the VBMS, the Benefits Management System. They look at those numbers to determine the comp and pension rates. And they look at zip codes is how they determine where a veteran resides. Of course, we have several veterans in the county, and I don't have a number on that. There's no way to put a number on it that I'm aware of. But we have a number of veterans that don't reside here annually, but come in the summer, have summer homes. So in fact, I had 2 last week that resided eastern North Carolina, and they're here for the summer. And I've talked with them about benefits, and actually they come and talk with me rather than going to their home county, which actually has more VSO support. But
It seems like, though, that I've been under the impression that we were well over 1,000 veterans for the last several years. And I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote a report that we were over 1,100. But I just wonder where this 800 number comes from.
well, of course, that comes from the VA. And like I said, through the VA benefit, healthcare system as well, too. The healthcare numbers are on there. If you look in the demographics that they put together, you see that that's over towards the end of the report on the right side. But healthcare benefits go in there, the educational benefits. So they look at each one of those entities within, the entities within the VA, and they pull those numbers out by zip code.
only if they are registered with the VA for either health or educational benefits.
Yes, sir.
And you and I both know that there are a number of peacetime veterans that are out there that have no reason to register with the VA. They were not injured. They are not using the educational benefits, therefore they are undercounted.
You're exactly
not
right.
counted.
Yes, sir.
And could easily bring those figures up over 1,100.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, these numbers are only VA numbers, so, to actually know the number of veterans in the county, it's very hard to make that determination. We have a lot of younger veterans, as most veterans that I know. They've never offered to talk or take anything from the VA until they get till they get middle-aged or older, and they start having problems, and they've never asked for anything. And they probably, and in many cases, most of them could be receiving benefits and have never asked for them.
Part of the, I know part of your job here in the last year or so that you've specifically helped 2 or 3 veterans with large cash payouts on back claims, and I think that needs to be publicized, that, like what Mike was saying, just because you've been turned down previously, don't quit. Go to Kenneth, he'll fight for you. I know one veteran was over $40,000 for him and their family. Another veteran was close to $100,000.
One over 100,000.
Those are life-changing numbers. And it's not that the veteran's looking for it, it's that veterans deserve it for what they've done, what they've been through. And just because the government, the federal government, is not as strong as they should be in supporting the veterans, I think that's where you come in fighting for them every day. And I'm glad that you're here full-time, 40 hours a week, actually 40-plus hours a week. And I appreciate everything that you've done. I know you've done a lot of stuff for me personally and a lot of family people that would have never had those benefits if you hadn't have been so aggressive in trying to get them. Now, not everyone's going to, be a winner in that category, but at least, you give it a good try. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
$4.2 million in cash benefits, so the vast majority of that's going to be exempt from income tax, right? Vast majority of
Yes,
that.
VA benefits are exempt. They are non-income.
Yeah,
They're
so
not
that's $4 million
taxable.
in cash coming into our county, and all of that's going to be spent regionally, maybe not necessarily all in the county. You can't buy everything inside the county that you need, but it's all going to be spent regionally, and economy benefits regionally, it benefits us locally here too, so that's a tremendous number there. If you look at the county right above us, Alexander County, they have 3 times as many veterans and just over twice as much cash compensation, so we're getting a lot more per person than they are. So it's just a tremendous amount of cash we've got coming in.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Kenneth?
thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move along to item E, general business. First on the list is a swimming pool update.
Yes, just wanted to talk to a few concerned parents and citizens about the swimming pool. Basically, where we are, the pool is around 50 years old. We've got some, we need to do some updates to some plumbing and some filtration systems and things like that. We're sort of Band-Aiding it in this year to get through this swimming pool season. Plan is once, as we get towards the end of the swimming pool season, we'll get some hard costs as to exactly what amount of money we're going to need to spend. Jim and I are guesstimating $40,000 or $50,000 probably, but we don't know that. That's just a guess right now. And we'll put some reports together, and sometime during the off-season, we'll make a recommendation to this board that we either need to, try to spend the money and keep that service available, or we need to, would make more sense to close the pool at that time. So municipal pools are closing all around. I mean, it's an expensive thing. The pool's never going to make money, but it is a valuable service that a limited number of citizens do. Most citizens don't use the pool, but the ones that use it a lot. So it's a very small percentage of the population that uses the pool, but those that use it really use it. So we'll have to make that determination. But doing everything we can to keep the pool open every day this summer. Jim's been working very hard on that. So I know we were a week or so late getting it open, and then they had to close for another day or day and a half. But everything seems to be back in equilibrium now. So you have anything to add on that, Jim? Anything? Okay. So I just wanted to keep the citizens apprised of that, and we need to see exactly how much we need to spend on the pool to make it sustainable for another 10 or 20 years. And again, we'll come back to the board with a recommendation on that. So,
As of right now, unless something just breaks, it looks like we're going to get through the season with what we have. Okay.
certainly at a minimum, we're going to need some plumbing, and we want to switch to a salt filtration or salt purification system rather than chlorine. Everyone in this room, we all went to the pool as kids and were dipped in the chemical bath of chlorine every day for years, and we all turned out fine, right? But salt is salt's a lot easier on the plumbing and the filters and things like that than chlorine is. Chlorine really burns up a lot of the guts of the pool, so that's $10,000 or $15,000 expense by itself. But it'll save us, $1,000 a year at least in maintenance costs going forward. So it's a good long-term plan. Plus, it's better for the environment and better for the pool users as well.
I hate to tell you this, County Manager, but there's 3 others on this board that the dip that we went into was New River. And we came out with blue lips. The nearest swimming pool was Elkin, and it cost us 50 cents to ride the activity bus down there to the YMCA.
So that's basically the update on the pool. So.
Not to age anyone on the board now.
On the numbers at the Beamer property, did you mention the papers that were turned in to you on those numbers?
We hadn't got
Yeah, well, that's actually,
Paving part?
yeah, we'll talk about that. That's actually a couple of items down the
Okay.
agenda. We're not quite there yet, so. That was just next on the paper here. So the next item is actually a review of all feedback from the garbage ordinance, but that page is blank. We've had no feedback from the public whatsoever on the latest iteration of the garbage ordinance. Now, in June, the plan was to have approximately 30 days for comment and then possibly proceed to a public hearing at the August evening meeting. And is that still what the wish of the board to do that?
Yes. My opinion, yes.
Second that.
Well, you've already taken action to do it. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that that's still our agenda, so.
Change it or anything.
So we will have a public hearing then, August the 13th, at the evening meeting in August, to get further public comment on the ordinance, and then, the board can act upon it anytime thereafter, later that evening or the next meeting or whatever. So that'll be the plan for the garbage ordinance going forward.
Not at all.
Or not at all, yeah.
Does that give enough time on the paving while the bricks, before the bricks are done or after the bricks?
This is the garbage ordinance, not the
Oh, okay.
Beamer money. We'll talk about the garbage ordinance. So we had the garbage ordinance stuck in between the two recreation items there, so.
I can't read mine. It's all gray.
Yeah, and we
Color copy.
we had the backup copy maker for this meeting, and it didn't turn out as well as we wanted it to. The next item is the outdoor recreation fund projects. And yes, Mr. Irwin mentioned we did have the parking lot of the Veterans Park. We actually had a letter writing campaign. We got approximately 80 or so folks that wrote a letter and requested that be. We did not get that on this list. That really needs to be somewhere around 80 for number 22. So what I would like at this time is some guidance from this board to reduce this list to some more manageable number of 5, 8, 10 projects that we would like to study further for expenditure from the Recreation Project Fund for this year. Now, we did, yeah, we did agree through the budget ordinance that $5,000 for our recreation master project was going to be paid from these funds, and then we appropriated, can't remember if it's 20 or 25,000 for tar and chip paving of the Veterans Park parking lot.
In between 20,
Yeah,
22.5 or something.
I think,
was kind of
yeah, somewhere in that number.
Yeah.
So, and it was going to be about 55 or 60 for asphalt paving. Now, we're still studying, I've had a couple of the commissioners, obviously this board was very split on that item, whether to include it or not, whether to do asphalt or tar and chip. Asphalt would probably have a longer lifespan, but the tar and chip certainly is an easier, faster, cheaper, short-term approach. I know the large gravel, I don't remember what number it is. I used to know all the gravel numbers, but it's the larger gravel we have out there in the parking lot. I know that's not the ideal underlayment for tar and chip, but it can work, but it's not the ideal. It's best over the smaller grade of gravel. So I guess right now, this board, you don't have to do anything. There's under no obligation to do anything, and you don't have to do anything on this list. We can add our own list. You all committed to seek input from the citizens, and we've had a large amount of input from the citizens. You don't necessarily have to spend 100%, 50%, 25% of those funds on projects that were suggested by the citizens. It was their option to input. So, we need to get this number down to some more manageable number for further study for this year. And just because a project doesn't go this year doesn't mean we won't do it ever. It's just what we want to try to focus on further study for this year.
I guess my thought is, without a master plan completed, how can we make the evaluation?
Point. What's the timeline on the master plan? We hope to have the public meetings, and yeah, come on up. Hope to have the public meetings sometime in August. We're going to have 3 public meetings. They're not public hearings. They're just citizen input sessions in August. And have we
Morning,
scheduled those yet?
The timeline for the master plan, I've been talking with High Country Council on Government. They're actually going to be the ones doing our master plan. We had to take a little time off because the town was doing a Partif grant, and we didn't want to do our public meetings about the same time they were doing theirs and confuse everybody. So we kind of backed off, and we're going to start our public meetings possibly mid-August. We have to do a survey, which I've got surveys from a couple years ago that I've done for the master plan. I've also dealing with High Country Council on Government. They're going to be able to do all of our heavy writing, basically, of the master plan, and that's where the $5,000 is going to come from. But other than that, after August, we should be able to start compiling all the information to them, and then they should hopefully have it done by 2019, is what I've been hearing from HCCOG. So hopefully we're going to have all this master plan. We'll come to you as a board and have it kind of adopted through y'all. And then like we did in the past, I think it was a little over 10 years ago that we had the original master plan done. That's the information on the master plan.
The reason this is in your agenda today is this is the first meeting after the 60-day period for input has ended. That's why it's in your agenda packet for today. It doesn't necessarily require any action today if you want to think about it some more. But the next step will be, again, paring this list down to some more manageable number for further study for this year.
to me, I think that's, us just really just getting this late last week. Give us a little bit of time to sort of process here. We'll talk among us, maybe get this master plan start rolling and get some feedback from there. But in the interim, we do have the conversation probably separate as far as the hard surfacing, the parking area down there, what direction we want to go with that. I think that could be probably a separate conversation that we could go ahead and maybe, I think we didn't really have firm cost. I think we had a cost for asphalt of 55. The total budget number there was 57, but 2,000 was for something else, from what I remember. And so we reduced that number in our budget process by what we thought tar and chip would reduce it, and then we kind of supported or went with half of that out of this project, and then we approved the other half out of the general fund. I guess maybe some real numbers, concrete numbers on tar and chip, and then, of course, asphalt, maybe updated since
Yeah,
prices
we'll
have
get some
probably
updated
changed.
numbers for the next meeting.
Maybe we could do that separate, but then in the meantime, we could look at this list and kind of seek feedback from each other and hopefully have a master plan, because I do think it makes a lot of sense to kind of mesh this with a kind of a master plan. And I would be curious, I've never seen the previous plan we've had, just to kind of where it was, where we've come through, and then, of course, to compare it with the new one.
We've
when
got
we
a
get
lot
the new one.
of check marks on the master plan to where we've actually had stuff done from the old master plan that we were able to complete. So,
Just to see the progress and
Yes.
the movement and the direction that we're going. And because I know when you do a plan, it's not always, sometimes circumstances and things, motivations change, and you need to move in
Exactly.
different directions.
a lot of things within the recreation of the country has changed. I mean, there's trails and walkways and greenways have become very, very, very popular within the country and within the state especially. I know with the Parks and Recreations Trust Fund that I hope once we get the master plan finished, we can actually apply for some of that money and have the Beamer money actually go a lot farther, because they'll actually match it 50-50. So that'll help with getting us being able to stretch that money as far as we possibly can, is to try to get a Parks and Recreations Trust Fund grant, which we've got 3 facilities within the county that have been given Parks and Recreations Trust Fund money. Veterans Memorial Park being one, Duncan Recreation Pool being the other, and then Davis Field being the third. So those 3 facilities have been matched through the Parks and Recreations Trust Fund.
And I'm not saying that we need to not look at anything on this list. If the board sees an item or 2 on here that we know it needs to be addressed before this master plan is done, or 2 or 3 items or whatever, then I think by all means, let's have that conversation. But if, as far as the whole plan itself, I think doing it all at one time would be good. Bobby?
I mean, just quickly looking at that list, it says number 3, renovation of Davis Field. Then you go down to number 16. Are they talking about the same thing or two
Renovations,
different?
yeah, I mean, it's the same place, but it's 2 different things. Renovations to me is to keep the basic Davis Field, but kind of make it better backstop, maybe better bathrooms, or maybe put a grass infield in, or something like that. Now, when it says baseball complex at Davis Field, that come from an idea of having a 4-leaf clover park basically put at Davis Field like you see at Wilkes County. So you would have a clover leaf, have a complex, and give us the ability of hosting tournaments, bringing people in from Hickory, which we've done before, but we have to share the fields with the school and have to use Lady Trojan Field a lot of the times. But that would give us the ability of hosting it at one place, bigger parking lot, and then just having one event instead of having going back and forth from Lady Trojan and Davis Field up the hill.
this be in your master plan, or?
See, the master plan basically goes by what the community and the citizens of Alleghany County want. That's why I have to do a survey and the community meetings, because it is based upon what, and this is going to help tremendously with the ideas from the citizens of Alleghany, but that it don't matter what I want. It really, I mean, it does kind of matter what y'all want, but if you do a master plan correctly, it's what the citizens of Alleghany County want to see 10, 15 years down the road within Parks and Recreation.
And we want to thank all the citizens that submitted ideas. We got a lot of ideas, and that's good. I mean, a lot of interesting, unique ideas on there, and there's no such thing as bad ideas. I do want to comment on the Partif grant. Last Wednesday in Boone, there was a meeting of the town and county managers in the high country, and there was, I don't know, maybe 15 there, and I believe 8 out of the 15 had an active Partif grant application right now, so they're all competing against each other. The town of Sparta has one, and I know several towns and counties, so it's a very competitive process for an ever-shrinking pool of money.
Yep.
But it is certainly something we want to pursue once we have the master plan completed.
This master plan, by the time that's over and time we all, that's going to be a while coming. Of all these things that I see that was brought up when some citizens were here, the fellow with the tennis program, Fritz, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. He had mentioned that we have people or schools that won't even come up here to compete in interscholastic tennis because of the faded lines on the tennis court.
That's correct.
Well, seems to me that some of these, or at least that one, needs to be addressed pretty quickly. I'm just throwing that out there. And
I'm not trying to be a stickler to that.
Well, you
but
are. No,
I am,
I'm
but
kidding.
when I'm having to pay for every bit of that, and I only have a program in there for maybe 10% of the year, but not getting any money even offered to help with those lines, and just getting complaints from the school, what do you want me to do about that? I mean, it's going to cost $5,000 per court to probably resurface and repaint.
Well, I'm talking about the painting part right now that
Well, I mean,
Fritz had
you've got
said
to-
was, I think he quoted something substantially less than
Yeah,
that.
Well-
we appropriated the money to line 3 courts, I believe it was, back during the budget. It was $1,200, $1,100, something like that, to do 3 courts. We did appropriate that.
The lines ain't the reason why they wouldn't come up here. It's the conditions of the courts and the cracks and everything else. The lines, to me, are not the substantial reason why they're not coming up here. It's the cracks and everything else, because there was a girl that had to have a doctor because she twisted her ankle on one of the side of the courts, which she did go completely off of court after the ball, but I mean, that's just being an athlete and trying to get to the ball. But the lines will help it, but that's only just a very, very little Band-Aid compared to what is going on with the whole court itself.
And Mr. Earl did not, if you remember, he did not recommend the complete resurfacing of the court.
Because
when he was
it
here.
does cost
Yeah.
so much money to resurface those courts.
Part of the problem that we've got, where are you going to get the money? You going to go to the school because it's their athletic program? Where do they get the money? They come to the county. So the check writer is going to be sitting right here at this board. Now, I agree with Commissioner Smith. There's a few things in here that we need to take care of. To me, the parking lot has already been decided, should be on the list. We've already made a budget, a line item, said that we were going to go with that. We said that we would take the money out of the Beamer property. To me, that's
Half the money.
half the money. Half the money is correct, and so that is not, to me, it's finished business. No need to cuss and discuss. Refinishing of the tennis courts, we need to figure out where we need to be. Now, if we're going to use some of this money for the the swimming pool, we don't need to be sitting around on our hands until 2019, whenever we get this 5-year plan back. But then we've wasted a year, and the pool has deteriorated more. It's going to cost us more. So if we can refurb it with some of this money out of here, out of the Beamer property money, we need to go ahead and do that, because we're not going to do it during the pool season. It's probably going to be done during the winter.
It'll probably be done in the spring before the pool
Or
opens.
spring,
Yeah.
whenever the weather will permit. So.
Now, I do have documentation upstairs, and go with your point with the pool. The last time it was redone was in 2007. That cost over $250,000. And that was when they took the diving boards out. They brought the level of the pool up to 8 feet instead of 12 feet, and they pretty much redone the whole deck, the whole pool inside and everything. So, but that was 10 years ago.
How much?
So it was right at $250,000.
So what was the cause of the holdup this year?
For the pool,
Yes.
we had a bunch of, we had 3 different pipes to burst. We had one of our 4-inch pipes to burst. We had one pipe at the pump to crack and burst. And then when we were putting chlorine in the chlorinators and started to pump back, the pipe that is connected to the pump undulated and snapped off the pump. So we had to shut it down basically. That was before we even opened it. Now, I had to shut it down for 1 solid day because the health department, and I'm actually the CPO, which is certified pool operator, and I sign off on all the chemicals, all the pH and everything within that pool. And if I can't see the 2 grates down in the 8-foot section, I have to keep a pool shut down. As a safety precaution, because a lifeguard, if he can't see the bottom of the pool, and you're laying on the bottom of the pool having a seizure or something, they can't see you to save you. So that's just a safety precaution, and it saves our hind end a little bit if something was if I was just ignorant and just open it up because I can't see the bottom of the pool, that would come back on me. But that's why we had to shut it down for that 1 day. It cleared up. I don't know what was going on. My speculations with talking with the guy that I go to class with that teaches the CPO class, he used to be over UNC Charlotte's whole aquatic center. He basically told me, look, your bather load was too much for your sand filters at that time, because we had over 100 people those 2 first days to come into that pool. And once we cleared it up, she's been perfectly fine ever since. Clearest water I've seen in that pool in a long time.
Well, that's what I'd say, and I mean, there are obviously some areas that we need to probably address before waiting on the master plan.
And the good thing, and I'll let y'all know too, the good thing about the tennis courts and the pool is they are on the same property. The PARTF grant has to deal with same property items. So if you look at Davis Field, when Davis Field was built, you know, there's a basketball court. I don't know if everybody knows, but there's a basketball court up at the top. It's an outdoor basketball court up at the top above the Lions Club. Well, they put that in because that's more points they can put down for the grant application. The more points that you can put down, the better chance that you have in getting the grant. So with that tennis courts and the pool being on the same property, we could knock 2 birds out with 1 stone with the PARTF grant. That way we can use the PARTF grant to help us line that, so we're not spending the complete whole money for that, and then we're also spending only half for what y'all want to do with the pool. And I do want to update with the pool. You know, we had the front of it pulling off, deteriorating. We do have that fixed. It is vinyled. It looks good. I've just not got the bill for it, which the guy told me it'd be about $500 to fix that. But we had maintenance had put in some OSB, and then he was going to come back and put some vinyl siding on the side of it, and then whatever you call the stuff that you put under. What do you call that stuff, Josh? Yeah, just breathing purposes for it to not mold and mildew. So it looks really good if you want to take a ride up there.
I think this is something we should keep at the forefront of some of our discussions. Obviously, some of these problems need to be addressed, and I think Mr. Irwin made some very good points. If we wait until this study is done, if we wait till 5 of us break it down to 5 things that we think is important, then we wait for everything else, what kind of weight are we talking about? Substantial.
Once we get the master plan done, and it's finished, and my projection is for it to be done before 2019 gets here, we can have an application done in March. And then we can have an application for the 2019 for-a-part grant. We can have it ready to go for that year. And I understand Mr. Irwin's about it keep deteriorating, but, I mean, it's just how far you want that money to go. You either want a part grant to kind of go a little farther so you can nitpick at some other things that need done, or do you want to spend the whole complete money right now and get it completely done, and then the Beamer money's gone? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Do you want it to be stretched as far as you want, or do you want it to be just spent up right quick?
Well, when you put it like that comes back to some comments I did make previously, that I would like to see this money stretched as far as we can with some matching grants. But,
I mean,
I'm getting antsy.
One winter's not going to do much to the pool, if any. I mean, that pool's been there for 10, 15 years, and we drain it, do everything we've done in the past. One winter's not going to be $100,000 cost addition to a fix. Now, if it was 5 years down the road, maybe that would be a substantial amount of money that would have to be done if something was to go catastrophic wrong.
But you've also got to take into consideration the problems that we have, where if next spring you are delayed in opening or cannot opening, you are not getting the phone calls, you're not getting stopped on the streets, you're not being put in a corner in Halsey Drug Store about parents that want to take their children to that swimming pool.
And that's correct, but
I mean,
I still get phone calls as well as y'all do,
Right.
but I understand that y'all get stopped in the middle of the street, which I totally respect what y'all do on the board. But that's just my recommendation. What do you want it to be, like Tom said, stretched out as far as it possibly can, or do you want to just spin it up right now?
I want to take care of immediate problems that are within the budget, and hopefully have enough money whenever we start looking at future projects like new ball fields, that we could draw on this resource. But right now, we've got a number of areas, in my opinion, that have reached a critical point that we need to take care of.
And I do too. One thing's the fairgrounds. I think the fairgrounds right now needs a lot of issues like the electrical right now, I think needs to be done something with. I think the roof on the concession stand needs to be replaced. We just don't have the money right now for.
Let's say you're the director. You've seen the same thing we've seen.
Correct.
And you see more, more details out there of every area. Would you mind taking all of this and maybe trying to prioritize and help us come back with a list, from you and prioritize it based on what you think needs to be addressed, the critical first and move from there. And then we could figure out how maybe we could move forward to, take care of the needs dollar for dollar, or then what could we leverage and possibly get grants for and spread it out a little bit.
Sure can.
Would you mind doing that?
I don't mind one
Would
bit.
the board be okay with that?
Absolutely.
One thing, along the line, when we were going through the budget, we need to see who owns what. The county owns, looking at the tennis court, do we own all the tennis courts? Do we own part of the tennis courts? Where are the property lines? Does the county own it? Does the school own it? If the school owns it, it's up for them to fix. The county owns it. If we want it, then it's up to us to fix. But I understand up behind the softball field, the tennis courts, the line just sort of zigs here and zags there. At one point, we need to find out who owns what.
Yeah,
I can bring a
We
map.
probably do, but at the end of the day, I mean, who owns the schools is us, so I mean, it all
Correct.
kind of, it
Who's
all
the
really
school
kind
gonna
of comes
come to
back
for
to
money?
us.
Oh.
But, you know, as far as, I don't know if there's a, you know, with the person that got hurt, if there was a liability issue and kind of who assumes that or where that falls, but
Mike, that was pretty much dealt with, correct?
With that, yeah.
Insurance company should have.
They did. But I will, on direction from y'all, I will have my immediate needs and just go down as what we think is an immediate need for the projects.
I would ask maybe that instead of waiting to put it in the next agenda, whenever you get it developed, if you could go ahead and get it to Mike, let him review it and pass it out to us, and give us an opportunity maybe then to come to you one-on-one and just kind of massage that conversation a little bit more.
Sounds great.
And then we can bring it to our next meeting that you have it available by, if that's okay with the board.
Good with me.
I want to add back to the comment I made about prioritizing this. If we're going to do the master plan, we need to do the master plan. It needs to include this stuff. If we got emergencies, we need to deal with them. That's different than taking a list and trying to maximize the use of the funds.
Right.
I think we still owe it to do that. Other concern is Light Up Alleghany County was done without any kind of county funding. They raised their own money. There's nothing on this list that couldn't be accomplished the same way. We just need to get people with energies that want these things done behind them to figure out a way to raise the money to do it.
You know, the swimming pool particularly, there's a group of citizens that have offered their assistance to raise some portion of the funds that would be required for, of course, biggest thing maybe September, October, we'll have some hard costs as to exactly what we need out there and what it's going to cost. We do have a group of parents I've talked to a couple of times that do want to help with some of the, raise a portion of the funding for the swimming pool upgrades.
The big advantage there is the people that's affected by it are the ones that have the interest in doing something about it, and it doesn't all have to come out of the taxpayers' pockets.
We seem to have two schools in Alleghany County. We've got those that say we need to get this done, let's get going, raise the money, and they do it. And then those that come to the Board of County Commissioners and say, would you fund it? I remember the first activity bus this county got was paid for by high school students, junior high school students going around and selling subscriptions to magazines. There was a lot of magazines coming into Alleghany County, but we bought that Ford activity bus. And Wade Choate cut it to the bone so that he could get the business. We can't rely on the county to do everything. It's got to have some citizen input and some get up and go. So hopefully we'll get something going here.
I'm done.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank
Good.
you.
Good way to point it out, Larry.
Mr. Chairman, could we
Can.
have the resolution for Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
The other Mr. Irwin, and then,
Which Irwin?
then we'll maybe take a 5-minute recess after that.
At this time, we'll go all the way back up to item A on our agenda. We have a resolution for Mr. Kemp Irwin, who has finally made it in here. Okay. Tom, you comment? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Mike has got an oversized
If you'll come up here, please.
resolution. Morning. Welcome.
So we've got a resolution for you here. I'm going to read it. It's up on the screen as well. I'm going to turn around so the camera can see.
Got to get you on camera, Ken.
So whereas Mr. Kemp Irwin has dedicated a significant part of his life to this community and demonstrated his deep and genuine love for Alleghany County, its citizens, and its local government, whereas he has performed many types of labor and services for the community with distinction for 50 years, As he hauled the first load of solid waste from the Alleghany County Transfer Station to our landfill partner. And whereas he has performed bulldozer, backhoe, and related services, in addition to hauling innumerable amounts of solid waste, scrap metal, scrap tires, and other items for the county. And whereas he has inspired many county employees and community members with his work ethic and integrity. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Alleghany County Board of Commissioners, by virtue of the authority vested in us, and on behalf of the citizens of Alleghany County, do hereby tender to Kemp Irwin this resolution of public recognition. Resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to Mr. Irwin as a token of our esteem.
Congratulations.
Would you like to make a speech?
Thank you.
Speech.
Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break at this time. It's 11:16. Or recess.
Okay.
County. It's tax-
You think that'll bite me?
No.
Unicoi County, where my parents live, it's like 80%.
All right, we'll go ahead and convene our meeting, and I think we got to number 4 on our general business. PILT, payment in lieu of taxes.
Yes, this, you have in your packet here, this is a class action lawsuit notice that some counties are suing the federal government because they feel their payment in lieu of taxes has been underpaid for several years. For citizens that don't know, any part of the county, any county property that's owned by the federal government is exempt from property tax. But the federal government writes us a check every year. It's called payment in lieu of taxes. And everybody always feels like it's less than what they should get. I haven't done the math and see where ours ranks compared to our property tax rate. How would you value, the Blue Ridge Parkway property? How would you value that anyway? But everybody always feels like it's not enough. So the county where my parents live in Tennessee is almost 80% owned by the federal government. So a significant chunk of their revenue is payment in lieu of taxes. But this is a class action lawsuit. I know we've all gotten letters like this at our house, that you, Blockbuster Video overcharged you for a rental in 1998 and join this class action lawsuit and you'll get $4.25 back, in a year. Under no obligation to join this. We have until September to make a decision. I don't see any downside to participating. When I was in Lee County, we joined one of these and wound up getting $220,000 out of a bank had overcharged us on some bond issue fees from like 1973 or something, and we wound up getting over $200,000. We're not going to get that. We don't have that much federal government property in the county, but it's certainly worth joining. There's no cost involved, and if we get a little money, great. If not, we're not out anything. But I just wanted to present that to the board before and Donna's reviewed it, and as far as the notice here, everything looks fine, so.
What's the downside, Mike, if we do join?
I don't know of any downside.
Why would we not do it then?
Yeah.
Motion to join. I would make a motion to join this lawsuit.
Second.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor of that motion and second, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you.
The final one from this part is the library board appointment. There we go.
Matt Banks' term is up and is willing to serve if the board wants to allow him to continue.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second to reappoint Mr. Banks. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
4-1. Right, we have now got to our consent agenda, and we may have a question or two for Miss Rita. Thanks for being here, waiting on us. The initial part of your report is pretty much standard procedure. It gets a little heavy near the back of it. I did have on page 19 of a couple of requests there. And I was looking for some recommendation on what.
Which one was,
Are
these the requests for?
property owner from the Johnson application, disability application, late approval, I guess is what that would be.
Okay, what this is asking for, it's through the auditing program that we have to do every year. This was elderly or disability and did not get their information back in. And so after several attempts to, and actually did speak with them on the phone, they were late getting the information back and did not bring it back until actually that we sent the discovery bill, and you have to go back 3 years on the exclusion that they received. And when they got the bill for that, then they brought in the information. So what she's requesting is that you approve a late application for 2018. So I could recommend that you do that. That is typically what we've done in the past. Have reviewed the information and it would qualify. So that's the first request on that. The second request is that the board release the bill, which is $1,818. And that really is up to the board. As far as the statutory requirements, we did calculate the bill, and it is due. We do have actually 3 that we've heard back from. 1 went ahead and paid the bill and is requesting just reinstatement into 2018. On the Johnson case, they're requesting that they be approved and their bill released. And I really don't have a recommendation either way. That's up to the board. But I would just say if we do approve the release of this bill, then we'll have a few more that will come forward, because, you know, there were more than one that received this, the bill for noncompliance to that audit. I actually have one more here that they did not get in time for me to put in the board packet, so I will be bringing it next month. So whatever we determine here today, you know, we'll have to do next month as well.
What do you normally do, Rita, on these?
I think we've had them in prior years. Some have been approved, some haven't. I don't know if Donna could speak more to that or not. It's it is within the board's right to do so under a discovery. On a deferred bill, you know, the board really doesn't have any leeway on that on a farm tax. But on one of these, it is up to each individual board if you want to release this. Definitely within the income requirements. Of course, we're dealing with our elderly population here, and a lot of times it's someone else who handles their paperwork for them. I would probably tend to be a little more lenient, but like I said, it's something we will have a few more that will be coming forth at the next month meeting as well. I would just ask that we treat them the same, whatever we decide.
Well, in this, with the letter that they sent, is that they did attempt to fill out the form and filled it out incorrectly? Is that?
That's correct. Got the form back and didn't get it completely filled out correctly and didn't return the income information. We have to have a copy of either their Social Security statement that they receive each year or something from their banks showing what their income is, like what their direct deposit is. And that's the information that did not get turned back in.
So they did receive it and they did attempt to try to submit it
Correct.
on time?
On time.
Okay.
If they would have filled out everything on time, you would have granted it.
Yes.
It's,
And it does meet the income requirement.
they'd been under it before.
Yes.
And it sounds like they were just confused.
Yes.
For the Johnsons.
What's the board's?
I recommend approval on both areas.
Is this their yearly tax bill?
No, that would be 3 years
A
taxes.
total of 3?
3 years, yes.
Roughly 600 a year.
Right, it goes back 3 years.
We do have a recommended, or this is all going to kind of come under one vote at the end. Do we just want to mark approved here and then vote on it approved at the end, the whole thing?
Under your consent agenda, so.
Okay, but so we'll mark it approved if is that
Yes.
unanimous? You okay with that, Bobby?
Yeah.
All right. On that one, we'll approve the late application and the release. That's what you're, okay.
Right.
All right.
I do have one question now. What we are waivering is the portion that would have been reduced, or with the elderly exemption, they're still paying property taxes.
Yes.
It is just reduced.
That's correct.
Okay, so they are
Not the
still-
entire year bill, no.
Right, okay.
And when they lose it, the statute makes them go back and reclaim the last 3 years at
On
the
the
regular
difference.
rate, the difference of it. And that's the difference there.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and address that next one there is a Cleary.
And that one, as you'll see by the letter, is requesting the approval of a late application, same scenario, although Mr. Cleary did pay the deferred bill.
In the case of the reason that they didn't get submitted looks like something got tangled up in mailboxes or something.
Yeah, he was trying to take care of his mother's, Miss Cleary's, business, and due to the mail, he didn't get it back in time, and he did submit the information. She would qualify, but he also went ahead and paid that bill. So, no, he's not requesting a refund, but I think in all fairness, if you're going to allow a release of the rest of the bills, he would, I think it would be fair to refund his payment.
So we probably ought to, well, we'll see where the board's pleasure is on this. Are we in favor of approving the late application here?
Yes.
I
We all
would be.
good?
Yes.
Okay. So then, I guess you would just bring that.
Request for refund next month.
Right, let's address that by itself, or with its own. All right, any other questions on the Rita's stuff? I think the next, we have a solid waste, I think to me is pretty consistent with what we've done in the past to release. I didn't see a recommendation on it either,
Yes,
but
I
I
would, yeah, I would.
assume you would recommend stay consistent and release that. Is that okay with the board?
I have no objections.
Yes.
Okay. And then the only final thing is the bulk of hers is collection. She needs approval to go after taxes owed to county. We're in favor of letting her do her job, so.
I am in
Absolutely.
favor of her getting harder than the lips on a red-headed woodpecker in the collection of all past due taxes.
Without objection. Any other questions for Rita?
Okay, that, I don't mean to interrupt, but that also included the insolvents, the request for insolvents for this year. That would be, the insolvences are personal property taxes, not including tagged motor vehicles that are 10 years old or more, requesting to be able to relieve those from our charge and release those. And then I had unclassified motor vehicles. These are bills, statute allows, well, now with the new VTS, the statutes actually allow you to release all of them that are not current, and now that we've gone past 2014, none of them are current. But I would request either 2007 be released, or I'm asking 2007 through 2010. We've tried as hard as we could to collect those and to go ahead and release. But we would continue with 2011, 12, and 13. We'd continue through debt set off and other, if we can collect those.
So where does the board want to?
I agree with Ms. Miller's recommendation.
Page 79 is the actual action, and then page 80 through 83 or 4 are the actual accounts.
Agree with John.
So she actually, you mentioned releasing two different ways.
Either just the, okay, for the personal property, 2007 only, but for tagged motor vehicle, old bills, 2007 or 2007 through 2010.
I would agree with 2007 through 2010. Quite a wasting our time.
These auto taxes, we won't be discussing those 4 or 5 years from now, will we?
No, not after we've either
Just-
collected
Right.
or deemed insolvent. Those old ones.
And the 2007 part with, we have done every year as long as I can remember.
Second on that.
We'll all be in the, anything else?
That was the last of anything that I needed a motion on.
Good there.
Good.
All right, and then we have fuel oil bids, general fund amendment number 1 and 2, the capital loan resolution, financing resolution, partnership for children, of course, the recognition, the resolution for Kemp Irwin, and then that E911 fund resolution, which we just got. Mike, do you want to mention what that was for?
Yes, the Sheriff's Department would like to purchase the Southern Software, the AutoCAD, for 10 patrol vehicles. So they'll have a small laptop in the vehicle. It'll have all the 911 geocoded data, so whenever there's a dispatch call, the address and all get zapped right to the vehicle. It also has an AVL feature, which AVL software tracks the vehicle, so we can see that patrolman's number 1 visit, how many miles he patrolled on a particular shift, how many times he passed by John Irwin's house in the course of a day or a week or a month. So you can, as a citizen, we're patrolling your area, plus also, for the sheriff and for the patrol captain to manage their employees. It shows they actually did their patrols as they were supposed to. So it has several benefits there. And it's $14,604 in total. $89.35 qualifies for 911 tax money expenditure. The other $5,700 is going to be paid from the drug fund. So there would be no general fund dollars going to this. So, Sheriff's Department's done a great job confiscating money in the drug fund. We've got a nice balance in there, and so there's another way. Recently, they purchased K-9 unit, recently purchased a golf cart, some other items, so, but that's a qualified use of the drug fund. So there's no general fund dollars, no tax dollars for this one, or at least no Alleghany County property tax dollars for this. 911 is a tax. Everybody pays it on their
Right.
cell phone bill.
Okay, with that, any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Question on the Partnership for Children lease agreement.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some discussion about building a facility for that?
Yes.
Lock us into a period that,
Not sure what,
how long is the lease for?
This lease is drawn up for with option.
As long as they stay in,
they're building on that
Existence.
property. We're leasing them the property. That's what that is doing.
We're not signing something out of it, we have an alternate facility.
Was the question?
If we do build another facility for them, I would hate to see us locked into a lease that we'd have to pay out of if we change locations.
Part of the agreement in this lease is they have to maintain their operations at this facility. So they could get out if they want to move to another location. We could force them out of this lease if they cease operations on this property.
Yeah, this is to allow them to use the land to build their own building.
But if
Own
they cease
funds,
using
their
that
own
building
money,
for that
their own
purpose, then
operation.
the
It's-
the
We're not
lease will
taking on
terminate.
any cost.
Okay, all right.
What happens if they cease to function? Who owns the building then?
County does.
The county?
This is basically the same thing you did with Wilkes Community College's addition, with the welding addition that they were doing. There's language in there that they have to use it for the purpose that the lease is designed for, and if they cease doing that, then it reverts back to the county.
And it says they'll keep up the insurance and they'll be responsible, they're responsible for what happens at the building, the county's not.
That is correct. This
And they'll have
differs-
insurance and pay, well, they won't pay taxes, will they?
This is different than the Wilkes Community
Yeah.
College one, because with that one, it said that the county would provide maintenance and housekeeping functions and those sorts of things, and that is not in this one.
This in no way obligates the county to keep the program going.
No, it does not.
What?
It does not.
We funded them some money this year, but it doesn't obligate us to continue appropriating them money in the future.
A motion to approve?
Make a
as,
motion to approve consent agenda as modified.
Moving a second on the consent agenda to approve as modified. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 5-0. Thank you. All right, next is public comments. Anyone here wants to address this board on any matters? Come forward, and please state your name for the audience.
David Jones, but most everybody calls me Casey.
Hey.
And before I address the issue I want to address, I would like to thank all you guys for everything you do, because I know it's kind of a thankless job, and that you take a lot of cussing out in public and one thing or another, even though you've got the county's best interest at heart. The only thing I wanted to say is, I had heard, about those tennis courts kind of being in disrepair, and I don't always just accept that as a, face value. So when the girls were playing in the state softball team tournament, I went up there one day while they were taking infield and walked around those tennis courts. Those things are a hazard. Now, and I realize that the high school uses them for their athletic events, and that's where most of the use occurs on. If you look at the deeds and the tax maps, 3.5 of them are on the county property, and 1.5 basically belongs to the Board of Education. But the things are dangerous. And I know that there was a young lady from North Wilkes High School that was a ranked player. She went back against that fence to make a play on the ball, and she stepped off that ledge. And it's about that much of a drop from the court to where the gravel is currently stacked. And she messed up her knee, it wasn't her ankle. She never played anymore the rest of the season, I don't think, now. It's the way I kind of got that secondhand. Which, there again, the school's the one that uses them all the time. And you guys do give them a lot of money every year to operate the school system, but somebody needs to, I'm not second guessing, but somebody's butting heads somewhere where they need to get that taken care of for an injury happened, and it's more than just a knee or something. And plus it looks, don't take my word for it, there's grass growing up through the cracks in the middle of the tennis court. And I know as far as the painting them, it's not that expensive to do, because I used to work for John Woodruff in the summers when I was in college boy, and he used the local maintenance guys, school guys painted them and stuff. And lined them and everything. We just didn't do the surface and all this. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to take up your time.
Okay, thank you.
Said two things.
I'll let Swift on in there.
Anyone else? If not, we'll close the public comments and move to county manager comments. Mr. Mike.
Yes, I handed you a copy of a proposed quarter-cent sales tax referendum resolution. Don't need any action on this tonight. A couple of you has asked to see what the resolution would look like. Basically, I copied our friends in Watauga County and changed the appropriate information. I just got it to Donna late Thursday. I know she has not had a chance to finish her review of it as of yet, so there's no action required. I know the resolution, we can make it as specific or as general about the use of proceeds as you deem fit. This particular one, we just talked about using it for school resource officers and additional funding for the fire departments and rescue squad, but didn't specify percentages or anything like that. Now, the quarter-cent sales tax would, would generate approximately $180,000 in revenue, slightly more than a penny, about a penny and an eighth probably in property tax equivalent. If you split that in half and said half was going for school resource officers, half for the fire department and rescue squad, 90,000 divided by 6 is $15,000 each for the 5 fire departments and the rescue squad. Just as an example, may not work out exactly like that. We will need action on this certainly by the 2nd August meeting, preferably by the 1st August meeting, if we're going to get it on the ballot in November. So that's just an update on that, kind of what the resolution would look like. Donna's still finishing her research. I think all we have to do to get it on the ballot is enact this resolution, but we're not 100% sure. We're going to double checking that right now. So there's no public hearing required because it's to put it on the ballot. That would be the public hearing. The voters voting on it basically would be the public hearing. So
The language that would actually be on the ballot is down there. It's by statute, it has to say what it says down there. We can't word it any different. That would be what's actually on the ballot. Okay. All right.
a couple of other items. There was no social services presentation this month simply because we had a very full agenda. We are going to continue those. We'll start back with that next month, but we did not have one this month. Lisa's on vacation this week, plus we had a pretty full agenda. So I just want everybody to know we are going to continue those social services presentations. We haven't had everybody come through yet. Another item that's just come up last week, our license plate agency, the car tag office, they have turned in their notice to the state that they are no longer going to continue with the contract. It's officially a 30-day notice, although it'll probably be more like a 60-day notice for them to wind down their operations. Now, I want the citizens to know, number one, there will be some period of time where we have no office in the county. It's not going to change hands with all the public notice, everything that has to take place. We're not going to have somebody ready to go the next day. There will be some small period of time, probably 3 or 4 or 5 months, where there will be no tag office in the county. Rita has started studying it. We'd actually talked about it a few times about the county taking over that function as part of the tax office. I've talked to a couple of county managers this week where they have recently taken over the license plate agency. It is not a profitable business. I know I had a good conversation with the Yancey County manager last week at our meeting. They are subsidizing it about $20,000 a year to operate the agency. Now, they operate it as a completely standalone agency with 1.5 employees that only operate the license plate agency. Hopefully, we could integrate it into the tax office and wouldn't need, maybe we might just need 1 part-time personnel, but it's not going to make any money. Best case scenario, breaks even. Most likely case scenario is that it would lose a little money. Now, of course, we would strongly prefer a well-qualified, well-capitalized private company put in a bid and operate the agency rather than the county doing it. I don't know how likely that is. Next step for the state, at some point, will put it out for a bid for a 30-day process. Then there would be some kind of time to review the bids and things like that. So it's not something instantaneous. But we do, as of right now, we probably will put in a bid on it unless, we hear from some company, hey, we want to put in a bid and we're ready to do it. We may back off at that point. But certainly, I think consistent office hours are probably the number one complaint you hear from any privately operated. I think we've all gone over there. No offense to the contractor. Same thing when I lived in Watauga County. You go to renew your tag, you show up, there's a note on the door, sorry, we're closed this week for, family vacation or the flu or whatever. So just, want to think about that. Any feedback from the public we would like to hear over the next month or two. But we will be without our license plate agency for a period of time this fall, most likely. So that's all I have.
The feedback from that. All right, at this time, we're to commissioner comments. I'm going to start to my far left, Mr. Commissioner John Irwin.
Well, about the only thing that I have on my list, I am beginning to receive phone calls concerning dogs that have either been abandoned or running loose, particularly in one location. I believe that we are going to have to sit down and look at our leash laws. I did contact the sheriff's office. Nick tells me that they are averaging a call a day where they are having to dispatch a deputy for a vicious dog or a dog that is causing problems. Now, the lady that called me did not appreciate whenever I told her that normally farmers in the area, if there's dogs chasing their sheep and cattle, that they remedy the problem with a weapon. She thought that was inhumane. One thing that we've got to realize is if we take these dogs in, they go to the pound. If they are not claimed, if they are indeed vicious, they're going to die. If this becomes a problem and continues to become a problem, and we have to take action as a Board of County Commissioners, then it is simply recognizing to the point that the public is not taking care of the dogs. Now, we did have a problem in New Hanover County whenever I lived in New Hanover County when we had a recession. People simply could not keep their dogs up, and they started turning them loose, and we ended up with that problem. It is something we are going to have to look at. Responsible ownership is something that each dog owner should have. Hopefully, if you can't take care of your animal, at least give it the opportunity of being adopted by turning it in. They will start disappearing if they're chasing sheep, cattle. The farmers will take care of the problem because that is their pocketbook. It is to the point that they do that, we're just going to have to accept it. That's all I have, sir, except when we are starting to discuss the quarter-cent sales tax. I would like to point out to everyone that we are doing due diligence, and I know that people are not happy with us having to go up on property taxes, but we are trying to shift some of this tax burden to those that come into this county and purchase items. Everybody gets all up in arms because we're going to go with an additional quarter cent. Well, if you buy something in Wilkes County, Surrey County, Watauga County, you're paying it over there. You're not complaining over there, but they reap the benefits of the tax that you're paying. Thank you, sir.
Just tag on to what John talked about, the dog ordinance or dog leash law or whatever. I got the same call. It's something that's probably going to need to be looked at. I hate to bring up another ordinance conversation, but I think at the minimum we need to do is educate the citizens of the county of what their options are. And this lady was terrified by a vicious dog that, got after her and her pet. So I think it's something we all got to take a look at down the road.
I'd like just to add one thing about the Veteran Service Officer. Also, each month, he publishes a list of job offers in North Carolina and in Southwest Virginia. And a lot of those job offers are geared towards veterans. A lot of the times, he'll have in there a salary and a minimum work experience. So if you can get with Kenneth, it's a good way for veterans plus other people to look for jobs. And as we mentioned before, I would like at some point in time to see what the county owns and what the school systems own as to property that we share for recreational and any other thing that we might share with other agencies. I'm like John, that a lot of times you're in the grocery store or out on the streets and people stop and ask you questions, what's going on. I think that's part of the job of being a commissioner. You listen to the people, whether you agree with them or you don't agree with them. You listen to what they have to say, because a lot of them have a lot of great ideas that I've never even thought of or looked at the way that they look at it. So I think for people that run for public office, being stopped and talked to, that's just part of the job. That's it.
These dogs, that call didn't originate from Golf Course Road, did it?
Sorry?
Call, did it come from Golf Course Road?
No.
Okay, thanks. Just a couple of things. I think this license plate agency, having it in our county, is a real asset. I would hate to see that gone. And just briefly on the quarter-cent sales tax, I think we have found a couple of entities with school safety and the fire departments where this truly would have a chance to pass. And I think we need to pursue this quarter-cent sales tax and try to see if we can't get it on the ballot this year in November, I guess. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I agree on the quarter cent, and John had listed the counties. He missed Ashe County. They're all around us. I know it was just a mistake there, but, if anybody goes anywhere else, they're paying for it too. So, and this would help to share the cost among those that visit but don't own property here. And there was some talk back and forth as to when to do it. The last possible opportunity is the mid-month, August. But if this board's okay, I would like to bring it back to our first of the month, August meeting, just in case there's a hiccup or something. Then that way we're not strapped on a timeline there. And then that would be an evening meeting as well, so.
Mr. Chairman, please correct me if I'm wrong, but our night meeting in August is going to be on the 13th because the
right.
county manager
Right.
will be out of town. So we need to make sure that the public knows 13th.
Yeah, good point. The 1st of August meeting will be not the first Monday, but I guess that would be the second Monday, the 13th. So everybody remember that. And with that, one final comment. They did, a group of folks did a real nice job and had a great success, and Larry mentioned it, the Christmas lights drawdown was very successful Saturday night, and I think the number I heard was just a little over 15, between 15 and 16,000.
17 is what I heard.
17, it
So,
was-
depending on who you ask, but it's somewhere north of 15, and I think they had a goal of 25, so they are well on their way. So they're still seeking and taking donations, but great group of folks, and just want to thank them for their efforts and their work in that area. I think it's going to be good for the county. So, and that's all I have. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moving a second to adjourn, all in favor, make known, say aye. Opposed? Of course not. Thank y'all.
I like to stay.